What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is Logan. Once again, I apologize for the delay in me posting this review, but I had to make a long road trip this weekend to pick out a puppy who will be joining the WillFoxification family come May. You can see a picture of him here after he ran himself into deep sleep. His name is Delson, by the way. But anyway, Logan is a 2017 superhero film that was co-written and directed by James Mangold and is the third and final installment in the Wolverine franchise led by Hugh Jackman. This film picks up around the year 2029 where Logan, aka Wolverine, is becoming an old man and is finding it increasingly difficult to find any real purpose in his life. Mutants are almost extinct, and because of this, Logan and an increasingly fragile Professor X are hiding out near the Mexican border with only survival in mind. Well, one day a young mutant girl by the name of Laura, who is on the run from some very bad people, arrives on their doorstep due to some unforeseen circumstances, and the two are roped into delivering her to a very specific location for a very specific reason. And the rest of the film is spent watching Logan, Laura, and Professor X go on a wild and bloody journey as they attempt to locate a mutant safe haven and simply survive another day. Okay, so I think all of us had some pretty high expectations for this film because it seems as if Fox is creating a pretty cool and unique cinematic universe for their Marvel-owned content, and the marketing for Logan was really good. All the trailers look great because they made the film look super gritty and grounded. I think all of us superhero fans were very excited for this because I know I was, and I was hearing it from everyone else as well. And I'm very happy to say that I really enjoyed this film, and it's exactly what I hoped it would be, for the most part anyway. But let's start with some positive things about the film. Well, firstly, I think this has got to be the best acted and written X-Men film to date. I think Hugh Jackman has always been a great Wolverine, but his performance in Logan just felt a little more subtle and nuanced, and like it had more depth to it than the previous outings. I think Hugh Jackman's Wolverine has always been a character with some emotional baggage, but in Logan the baggage is much more pronounced and feels a little rawer and more realistic. I really enjoyed how Hugh Jackman decided to approach this version of Wolverine because he's a much more dynamic character in Logan than he ever was in his previous outings. Not that he wasn't always good there, but he was great this time around. But I was also thoroughly impressed with newcomer Daphne Keane in the role of Laura. She showed off some incredible versatility at such a young age because she was required to do so much acting without really having many lines of dialogue to actually work with. Most of the time she doesn't even speak, and she has to relay so much about who Laura is as a person with just body language and facial expressions, and it was incredibly impressive to watch. Let's not also forget that she is a complete badass. Laura does a lot of fighting in this film, and she is just as formidable of a foe as Logan himself, if not more so. That should appropriately frame it for you. And the other two actors that need mentioning are Boyd Holbrook as our main villain, Donald Pierce, and Patrick Stewart returning as Professor X. Boyd Holbrook is one of my favorite actors, honestly, and I can't wait to watch his career blossom even further after his work in Logan. He's a pretty underrated actor in my opinion, and in Logan he delivers one hell of a villainous performance. He's not overly crazy or anything, he's a very restrained, grounded oppositional force to our mutants coming at this battle from an entirely different perspective. He's an ex-military man and he feels and looks the part. He was great, but I will say that I felt he was a little underdeveloped and deserved a bit more screen time to properly flesh out his motivations and methodology. Still a great performance though. And Patrick Stewart also delivers a strong performance as well as Professor X. This aging Professor X is unlike any version of the character we've seen on the big screen before because he's hampered by the realities of old age. Patrick Stewart is asked to show off a much greater range here than he has in previous X-Men films, including humor, and he pulled it off very well. Okay, so something else I really enjoyed about Logan were the R-rated action scenes. Now, as I said, this is the most grounded X-Men film to date, and seeing how it's R-rated, there's a lot more violence to be found here than previous installments in the X-Men franchise. So just the PSA, do not take your young children to go see this movie. I saw a guy walk in the theater with his 7-year-old daughter, and I would not recommend doing that at all. People get decapitated, Wolverine jams his claws through people's skulls, and there's just a lot of really violent things going on here that probably aren't suitable for young children. But these action scenes are awesomely choreographed and brutal in a very different way from previous X-Men films. So really this whole film is a very nice change of pace for the adult superhero fan, because besides Deadpool, Logan is offering something that most studios don't feel comfortable offering for risk of lower ticket sales because it's losing the family factor, and that's graphically violent superhero fight scenes in exchange with a darker tone. But these action scenes are really exceptionally done and add so much weight weight to this brutal story and the world in which these characters live. They're exciting in a very different, non-family friendly way, and the visual experience from Logan is pretty great. It's beautifully shot too. Something Logan offers as a film that I wasn't really expecting was actually some pretty well timed bits of humor. I think there's plenty of scenes in this film that aren't like roll on the floor laughing funny or anything, but serve as a nice change of pace and really will get you chuckling at the silliness of some of the characters' decisions and lines of dialogue. Just like the rest of the film, it's very adult oriented, so lots of cuss words and so forth, but it fits within this story very naturally and never feels forced. Okay, so I've heard the idea thrown around that Logan is the Dark Knight of the X-Men film franchise, and while I think Logan is a very good movie, I don't want you guys to read these sort of headlines based somewhat in hyperbole and go into this film expecting like the greatest superhero film of all time, because Logan is not on the same level as the Dark Knight. One minor problem I had with this film is that it doesn't always feel as emotional as you'd like it to. It really parallels The Last of Us in a lot of ways, and while it's hard to compare the plot of a video game and a movie, Logan doesn't quite have the emotional relationship between its two core characters on the level that a somewhat similar story like The Last of Us did. While Logan and Laura certainly bond over the course of this road trip together, they never quite make a significant connection with one another in a way that feels all that meaningful. So it's sort of like this film wanted to be grounded in reality and more emotional, but still wanted to really focus on the superhero fight scenes at the very core of it. And it can feel like there's an imbalance here because the story wants to be a brutal emotional journey, but sometimes it feels too focused on hitting the general superhero film standards as well, and that limits the emotional impact of the story. I also really didn't enjoy the closing minutes of the film all that much. I think the best way to describe it would be abrupt. This is probably because the movie is already 2 hours and 15 minutes long as is, and any longer of a runtime risks alienating certain moviegoers who don't want to sit there for 2.5+ hours. But like I said, it felt abrupt and sort of like an anticlimactic send-off for Hugh Jackman in his final X-Men film. But overall, I really enjoyed Logan. I think it's probably the best X-Men film to date. I thought it had some amazing acting performances from a great cast, some fantastically brutal action scenes, a nice mixing of humor, and a very grounded and dark telling of a superhero story. Sadly, I also felt the film sometimes lacked the appropriate emotion to take it to the next level, and the ending was very abrupt and sort of anticlimactic. I'm still going to give Logan a 9 out of 10 and definitely recommend you go see this one in theaters if you're looking for an action-packed and thrilling superhero film experience. Just be prepared though, it's violent. So did you guys see Logan yet? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, let me know whether you'd be interested in watching this film or not. And as always, if you like this video, click that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for much more content like this. That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.